Hey there, it's Steve from Serious Keto, and this is the Not So Serious Keto video podcast. So we're rolling up into the end of January here, so what I would like to do is revisit that thing that I called net zero, sort of the New Year's resolution or lack thereof plan for 2021. First off, let me describe it for those of you who either don't remember or are new to the podcast. Back at the end of December, I proposed that we not do New Year's resolutions. It seems that we fail at them, or at least I do very often, because I set up something that's too lofty, and once I fall off the wagon, I just stay off the wagon. So I thought instead, why not do 12 months, 1 month at a time, 30 days at a time, where I pick one thing that I'm going to start doing positively every day, and one thing that's negative or wasteful or just doesn't really add any value to my life, and get rid of that. At first I thought, I got one positive, one negative, so net zero. But then it occurred to me, if I'm subtracting a negative, that's the same as adding something, so it's really a plus two. Plus, you also got Net Zero was an internet company. I don't know if they still exist anymore, and I don't want any sort of copyright or trademark violation. So I've decided instead to call it 24 in 21, because we've got 12 months, and each month I'm getting rid of a negative and adding a positive, so 2 times 12, 24. I probably didn't need to mansplain that, did I? Now the end result of this 24 and 21, it shouldn't be that we just do something positive for 30 days and then we quit doing it. My thought is after 30 days or a month that these things will be instilled as habits, either a new good habit or a broken bad habit. So it builds on itself throughout the year. And my two things were doing strength training, some form of strength training. It could be as simple as one set of a body part. Just so long as I did something, I could check the box. My get rid of something negative was quit placing blame. So when something goes wrong, don't look for someone or something to blame. Just accept that it happened and keep moving on. And I really enjoyed reading through the comments and seeing all of the things that you all are doing for your positives and getting rid of a negative. Now, in terms of how things have gone for me, we're not quite to the end of the month, but I've missed 2 days in terms of working out. And I'm gonna loop back to that in a second. And then there were 2 instances so far where I've placed blame. I don't remember what one of them was, but I do know that one of them, the other one, was I found my IR, my infrared thermometer gun, in the sink in a tub of dishwashing water, which is not where you want to put a battery-powered infrared thermometer. And I don't think I put it there. But my wife also denies putting it there. But I don't think I put it there. And that was me then placing blame. It couldn't have been me. But it's entirely possible that it was me, and I'm just losing my mind. I don't know. But back to the whole working out thing. I missed a couple of days because I just got all wrapped up in filming and then editing, and before you know it, the day had kind of gotten past me, and it was dinner time, and I was winding down and just didn't work out. And I had to ask myself, is that a reason or is that an excuse? And I think lots of times when we fail at something, when we don't follow through, it's not really a reason for it. It's an excuse. We have an excuse for it. Because if you kind of look back at it, any of these things, like me missing a workout, you look at it in retrospect, there are things I could have done. I could have just pulled my chair away from my desk, stopped video editing, and done a set or 2 of push-ups. Just take a little break, a minute, do push-ups for a minute, then go back to video editing. So the whole I got too busy, that's an excuse. That's not a reason. So I'm going to share one other little story, and then hopefully I'm able to tie this all together into one big package. But I had read a story, and I think it might have been in The Case for Keto by Gary Taubes, where someone was telling him that they had a strategy as they were trying to go to work. There were 6 stoplights, and they would try and hit all 6 stoplights as green. Now, they didn't always make it all the way to work hitting all 6 lights as green. So if they hit a red light, it just is what it is. I hit a red light. I don't go back home and start again. I don't say I can't go to work today because I hit a red light. You just accept that you had a red light and then you move forward. And I believe that was told sort of in the context of, if you fall off the wagon for low carb or keto, just get back on. Don't beat yourself up. Just accept that it happened and move on. That's sort of my strategy now with this 24 and 21. If I miss a day, I move on. But I'll ask myself, is there a reason that I missed the day? Or is there an excuse that I missed the day? And that's going to be my same approach with this 24 and 21. I'm going to really do my best to hit every single day. But if I fail, if I falter, I'm not going to beat myself up. I'll just kind of look at it and say, is there something I could have done to avoid that happening? Is there something that I can put into place to keep that from happening again? So that's the whole 24 and 21 so far. I hope I tied that together. So in terms of February, the thing I'm going to add is taking cold showers every day, or at least the last 2 minutes of the shower be cold. And the reason I'm doing this is I started hearing about a month ago about Wim Hof. And you may be saying, well, how could you have not heard of him, up until a month ago? I don't know, just didn't. But all of a sudden, he started showing up in my suggested videos on YouTube. So I watched a few videos by him, and he talks about the impact of cold and like how good it is for you. And cold showers are supposed to be super great for your whole vascular system. And that supposedly, if you do this for 30 days, you will improve your resting heart rate by up to 20 beats per minute. So what the heck? I'll give it a try. We'll see what happens. What's the worst that could happen? I'll just be cold a little bit. In terms of the negative that I'm going to get rid of, I'm going to stop biting my nails. I have bit my nails since childhood, and I think a lot of it is just nerves and anxiety. But I think if I commit to you, my viewers, and of course you're going to wind up seeing my fingernails in any cooking video, now I've put it out there. So if I fail, I feel like you're all going to know. Well, I don't just feel that you're going to know. You're going to know because you're going to see my fingers in videos. But those are my 2. I'll be curious to know down in the comments, what are going to be your 2 this month? What is the positive you're going to add, and what is the negative or wasteful thing or non-value added thing that you're going to subtract out of your life this coming month? All right, next up, I have just a few little random topics that I'm going to throw out. So one thing you might be thinking already is, why are you wearing a dress shirt right now, Steve? You trying to channel some Dr. Eric Berg or something like that? No, but that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I enjoy his videos immensely. I find his voice very soothing, and I'm not a fraction as smart as he is, but I feel like I get a little smarter every time I watch one of his videos. I'm actually wearing this shirt because we went out to brunch this morning at Courtney, my daughter's request. She's got 3 more weeks, I think, before she heads off to Army basic training. And she's playing it up quite a bit. She's like, well, I only have, 3 more weekends here, so we should go out to brunch. I suspect I'm going to be getting a lot of that in the upcoming days. Like, I only have 18 more days here. Can we have this for dinner? So I'll probably be pretty accommodating to that because, then we're not going to see her for 4 or 5 months. So that is why I'm not wearing one of my typical shirts from $6shirts.com. That is not a paid promo. I get nothing from them at all. I really should, though, I think. If you ever place an order with $6 shirts and there's something in the comments like, where did you hear about us? Put in, I heard about you from Steve at Serious Keto. Who knows? Maybe at some point they'll give me some free shirts or something. The carnivore pancake, it's actually really more Ketovore pancake recipe video that I did recently. Man, that has gotten a lot of views and a lot of comments. Not all of them nice, as you might imagine. It seems, though, that this video is showing up on recommended lists for people that aren't necessarily keto or carnivore. And as a result, I think it's kind of lost on them why we would create such a high-fat, low-carb pancake. And I had one viewer that actually said, something like, OMG, that is so much fat. And I thought to myself as I read it, she was probably writing it maybe as like it's a bad thing. And I'm thinking, wow, that's sort of a compliment. This is what I was shooting for. Lots of fat in this pancake. How's that for a short topic? Another short topic. We talked last week about how recipes can go wrong. And I thought of another thing that can go wrong. In addition to things like order of operations, the way that you do things, the order of wording in measurements is important. So say I said 1 tablespoon of peppercorns ground. That is a different thing than a tablespoon of ground peppercorns. So in the first instance, I'm taking the peppercorns and I'm measuring them to 1 tablespoon, and then I grind them, and I'm going to wind up with something probably on the order of a half a tablespoon, maybe 2/3 of a tablespoon, something like that. Versus if I said 1 tablespoon of ground peppercorns, then I'm measuring it after it's already been ground. And this really is another great argument then for doing recipes by weight rather than by volume. But just pay attention. If you're making a recipe and it turns out poorly, and I'm not talking necessarily one of my recipes, but just in general, take a look at the ingredients and specifically the measurements and how they're worded, because that could be one of the reasons. Now, I believe it was in my last podcast that I talked about my just basic lipid panel that my doctor had given me and become very alarmed at because, let me see here, I had, my LDL was 167. That's what got him all panicky. HDL was 60, so that's outstanding. Triglycerides, 64, outstanding. But he got all freaked out about the LDL. So I requested an NMR lipoprofile or lipoprofile. I'm not sure which one it is. I probably should have figured that out before I started this podcast. Anyhow, looking at that kind of confirms that things are fine. The main thing that you want to see in terms of your LDL is the small particle size LDL. Those are small, dense ones that are really sort of the bad, we believe, bad HDL. Then you have these larger, fluffy, LDL particles. And you want those to be the higher number. You want more of those, you want less of these small, dense ones. So my overall LDL particle number was 1,736, which is in the borderline high category. And of that, the small particle size LDL accounted for 577, so less than 1/3. Additionally, between the 2 weeks of the test, my HDL continued to go up, so that went up to 69. It was at 60, so continuing to improve on the HDL. Now what's weird is that has been flagged as high. These reports, I think, are designed to kind of induce anxiety in people because you have a standard range, but it appears to me that the standard range correlates pretty strongly with the 50th percentile in the population. So you're just kind of comparing yourself against the general population. And then also one of the biggest markers of potential cardiovascular disease is the triglycerides to HDL ratio, and I am still below a 1.1. So feeling pretty good about the lipid profile. I'm not at all concerned about where the LDL is. If my doctor is, I guess we'll have to see how open-minded he is. It would be great if he was open-minded and wanted to learn a little bit more about cholesterol. If he isn't and wants to prescribe a statin to me, that's not going to happen. That's just not going to happen, and we'll have to either agree to disagree on that or, I guess, find a new doctor. But that's where we are on the lipid panel. If I wind up having any especially interesting information, good or bad, about how my doctor responds to these results, I'll probably create a brief Steve's Keto lipid panel video that exists separate from the podcast, just for those people that don't watch the podcast. In terms of last week's Easter egg, pretty much everybody that's in the United States got it. It's a little stuffed Aaron Rodgers that we have here. I was concerned about putting this in the podcast, which I'm recording again on a Saturday before the NFL playoff, the championship game for the NFC, whether or not it'd be too risky putting a Packer thing up there in case the Packers lost, but they didn't. Now we'll see if we can run the table. And if you're in Tampa Bay, I apologize. I'm sorry. I guess this may, if the Packers lose, this is probably going to be your opportunity to rub my nose in it. I will not do the same to you, though, because I'm not that way. Now, if we were playing the Bears, I don't know that I could make that same promise. I've got one final little bit of news to share with all of you, and that is the Serious Keto channel may be coming to an end. I received this email from Chase Bank, North America, although the email doesn't really seem to be like it's from Chase. But that doesn't matter, because the important thing is apparently they have been instructed to remit the sum of $10,500,000 to me. It's coming, currently the money is being held by the Central Bank of Nigeria. And all I need to do is give power of attorney to Mr. George Merrill Jr. I give him my bank account information, and I think we're good to go. So, cha-ching. Don't need to be doing this Serious Keto thing anymore because I am in the money. And that is it for this abbreviated podcast. If this whole Nigerian money thing doesn't work out, I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.